All right. Are we waiting for anyone or?
We're good to go.
They said they're waiting for a
Yeah.
few more people to join, but if you guys want to introduce yourselves, at least that gives them a little more time.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke, System Administrator here at Buckles. And with Will, we'll be doing the training.
Hi, I'm William Lugine. I'm the other system administrator here at the Buckles office.
And everybody knows me, I think, Margaret O'Keefe, the cataloging and special projects librarian at the Buckles office, and also the project manager for the South Orange transition to Buckles. You guys did ask us to give you 2 minutes. So yeah, we'll go ahead and give you a little bit of time for people to join. If you just want to chat us when you're ready, that would be helpful. Darlene, do you want to stop the recording and then just do a separate recording once we start?
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Margaret or Darlene, I think you need to make me a presenter. Okay.
You're all set.
Thanks. Okay, so all our reports can be accessed through Appio or Buckles Connect. The first thing you need to know, though, is to access reports, you need to be on the Buckles network. So that's, if it's a computer that's connected to the Buckles network, you can just log in with your unique login. If you're not on the Buckles network, say you're at a home computer or a public computer, you need to connect to the VPN. And from the VPN, then you'll be able to access the reports. So just keep that in mind. So now all the reports can be found in Buckles Connect. So right here, I'm on the main screen. And if I go to the launcher right here, I have all these links here. And the reports are down here at the bottom. We have 3 categories of reports. We have reports right here, which is a combination of Polaris reports and custom-made Buckles reports using SQL. Then we have Simply reports right here. This is a reporting software that comes packaged with Polaris. And then we finally have the Buckles statistics page. And we're going to go into all this in more detail. So right now, Will's going to get started with the first category, Buckles reports.
All right, can everybody hear me all right? All right, so let's go ahead and start sharing. We'll start off with, like Luke said, can somebody make me the presenter? It's looking like I can't share for some reason.
I'm sorry, I'll keep on top of it. I thought you guys could do it yourselves, but I'll keep on top of it. Thanks.
Gotcha, thank you. All right, nice. So let's see here. All right, let's just do it from here. Okay. So, like Luke was saying before, in order to access Buckles Connect and be able to get into our reports, we can be able to just go into Buckles Connect to get it. I'm gonna just log in here really quickly, and we should be greeted by the home screen as we just mentioned before. I'm going to use the launcher in order to get to our SQL reports, which is right here, Reports VPN. Once you click in it, it's going to bring you to this credentials login screen. You'll also notice here that the URL says bucklesreports.buckles.org/reports. So you can also use that URL as well if you want to get access to these reports. For now, we're going to use our training sort of user today, which is SORA Circ. So I'm just going to type in the credentials here. And once you finish, you can just go ahead and sign in, and you'll be greeted to this home screen with all your reports. So we can go ahead and get started by that. As we mentioned before, the Buckles reports and this kind of page here contains 2 types of reports. We first off have the Buckles custom reports and then innovative Polaris reports. I'm going to discuss the Buckles custom reports, and what those are different customized reports that we've made within the Buckles office over the years. So in order to get access to that, you can go ahead and click this folder, which is Buckles Custom Reports. From there, you'll be greeted to a new page with all of these different reports. And these are going to be really helpful to kind of get an understanding of. A lot of these reports were created and customized in order to make sure that we can follow along with the policies and procedures that have been set within our policies and procedures manual. We've talked about it a few times before in previous sessions, but these are going to be really helpful reports to be able to look at. Another really cool thing that you can be able to do in this is if you want to get a description of any of the reports that are here, you'll notice that there's a 3 dots button in the corner of each report. If I go ahead and click that, it'll bring up a little screen, and you'll notice here that there's a small description just explaining what each report may mean or what they're going to be used for. So that's going to be really helpful if you have any confusion on what these reports are supposed to be doing. For our first example, we're going to be going over the lost items - recently lost report. And it's based on a policy. So again, this is a really important example of how we can use these reports to follow our policies within Buckles. And the policy, just to give a brief example of it, states that lost items that remain on a patron's record 12 months after their due date must be removed from the patron's card. So what this report is going to do is help with making sure that we can follow along with that policy. I'm going to go ahead and click into it. And you'll notice here that it brings us to a new screen with a bunch of different fields. First off, we're going to go to this field, which is a drop-down menu. It's saying select bills for. If we click this, it's going to give us a list of all of the libraries within the consortium. And from here, you can select the particular library that you're from or the particular library that you're trying to look for lost items in order to be able to generate our report. For this example, we're going to select Allendale. And you'll notice here that it fills up, and then a lot of these other fields fill up, which I'll kind of explain in a little bit. Next up, you have this drop-down menu, which is going to only feature items and patrons. We're going to leave it as items because we're going to be looking for the lost items in particular. And so that's going to be really important to keep that there. Next up, we have where the items became lost in, and this is at the month. This is going to be really important to kind of take note with. Right now it's saying November. We're going to choose it to be December in a second just to kind of illustrate what this is going to look like. But when it comes to this field, based on our policy, since the report shows items from when they became lost and items become lost 2 months after their due date, we then have to change the report field so that we're looking at the items 10 months prior to the current date. So because we're in the month of December, instead of leaving it as December, we're going to go and change our function or our field to February so that we can look for items that have been lost with this report and include everything. So this is going to be really important to remember. Whenever you're using this report, you want to do it 10 months prior to the current date. So in this case, now that we have that all set up and our fields are kind of filled out, I can click down the View Report button. And what that'll do is that it's going to start to generate our report. It'll take a little bit to load, but once it's finished loading, you'll notice here that we have a table of a bunch of information on the lost items that have been lost back in February 2023. So right here we have Allendale's item branch and then the patron library that shows where the patron is from. You have all of their information here, and you even have one from West Orange as well, showing that an item was lost here. So from there, you can be able to look at that and kind of use this to your own discretion in order to help with making sure you understand what the lost items are. If you want to go any further back, let's say, for example, you want to go 11 months back, you can always just go back to your drop-down menu, select January, for example, and then you can then generate the report again. And you'll notice here, since I selected January, it's showing a different item here that has been lost and a different patron. So again, use it at your discretion. If you want to understand how many lost items have been recently lost, you would just change it and make sure it's always 10 months or more prior to the current date. So I'm going to bring it back to February here. Another few things that we're going to explain here is at the top. You'll notice there's a bunch of different buttons here. I'm going to just highlight 2 that are really important. First off, you have this floppy disk icon. That's pretty self-explanatory if you've seen floppy disk icons and other sort of softwares, but this is the save button. When you click it, it's actually a drop-down menu. And this is where you can be able to download your reports in any sort of file type that you want. What we noticed that a lot of staff members do within the consortium is that they'll actually select the Excel sheet format in order to download it in that way. And once you click it, it'll be downloaded into your browser where you can be able to select it and then open up the Excel sheet. What's really cool about this is that you can actually then open it up in an Excel sheet and then be able to edit any of the data that you have from this generated report. So that'll be a really cool option for you if you want to have more customizability and more organization aspect when it comes to the data that's been printed out here. And then lastly, you have this print button icon. Clicking this will allow you to print the report or the data that has been generated from this report. So you can be able to, again, do whatever you need to do with it in a physical format. So that's going to be really helpful as well if you want to make sure that you have that report printed out. It's really important when it comes to the procedures of everything. Again, it's just to make sure that you're referring to the lost items policy. This will give you a more in-depth explanation of how you can be able to use this report effectively and efficiently in order to follow the policy and kind of create an efficient aspect of your workflow with lost items in Buckles. With that being said, I'm just going to click Buckles Custom Reports again so we can go back to the list of reports that we have here. So if you're ever in a report and you want to go back to the other ones, you can just click here. It's almost like a little file trail. So you can click that and it'll bring you back to our Buckles Custom Reports. A few recommended ones that I just want to touch upon. We, again, have the lost items recently lost. So again, clicking that will help you with dealing with satisfying the unpaid lost items policy. So use this effectively in order to do that. Next up, we have lost and paid. What this does is that it satisfies the accepting payment policy for lost items. Again, this gives a good description on what this can be and how you can be able to use that. Next up, we have the 4-month bill lost items report, and that's going to be right here. You can use this to satisfy collecting on 4-month bills policy. So again, just really tying into the policies and procedures here with all these reports. Next up, we have in transit and transferred, which is right here. This satisfies the lost in transit policy for delivery. So this can be a really helpful report to use as well. And then lastly, we have the holds needing attention report, which is going to be right here. And this helps you fill your patrons' holds that are not supplied or have been waiting a long time for more than 4 months. So this is, again, a really helpful report that you can be able to utilize for that instance. All right. Once you are done with using the reports, you can actually, again, use this trail to go back to the home page where you'll be greeted by our folders again. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Luke, and he's going to explain the Polaris side of our reports here.
Luke, you are
Right.
a co-host now. I don't know if you saw my message, but you're
Yeah.
a co-host now, so you can do it. Yep.
Great. All right. So now, like Will mentioned, I'm going to go into the Polaris reports. So again, from Happio, you can go into reports right here. And at the home screen, I have the Buckles custom reports and Polaris reports. So the thing to point out about Polaris reports and the difference between Buckles custom reports is that Polaris reports will mostly have to do with circulation, and it's circulation that is attributed to the library the checkout occurred at, and not necessarily the library the patron or the item belongs to. Meanwhile, Buckles custom reports is usually attributed to the circ at the owning library. So I'm going to go into, now that I'm in Polaris reports, I'm going to go into the circulation folder where most of the reports are. And we're going to go over some examples. So there's a bunch of reports in here, and they're all listed alphabetically. I'm going to go down to patron circulation statistics. And like Will mentioned here, you can click the 3 dots and you can see the information about the report. So I'm going to go into here. And this will be a breakdown of circulation by patron code. And as an example, we're going to do Allendale. So I'll pick Allendale as my library. One thing to mention here, to say we're looking at November, you have to pick the end date is the day after the report, or the day after the day you want to stop at. So I would pick November to end on November 30th. I'd want to pick December 1st. So I click View Report, and you can see here patron circulation statistics, and then it gives the information, checkouts and renewals by patron code here, and you can see the list. Next, I'm going to go into some other, cover some other reports that are helpful. There's one called Top Circulating Items by Collection. And this lists the titles with the most checkouts at the library, which is helpful. Next, I'm going to go into the holds folder here. And there's this report, holds alert report by branch. And this helps you find the titles with the most local holds, so then you can make purchasing decisions or fill them by other means. So this is really useful to figure out how you want to, collection development and what items you want to purchase. So one thing with all these reports that is really useful is to be able to subscribe to a report. So the way you subscribe to a report, and for this example, I'll say I want the holds alert report by branch, is you click the three dots here, and then you can see these options here. You can also favorite reports to get quick access to them. And down here we have subscribe. So say I want to subscribe to the holds alert by branch, I'd go down to the three dots and click subscribe. And it brings up this new subscription window here. So in the description, I can say, collection development report. And it says the owner is SORA Circ, because that's who we're logged in under. And then down here, we have a schedule. On the schedule, what you want to do, it will default right here to 7 a.m. Every day. But say I want to do this report on a monthly basis. So I go to edit schedule. And then you can see here, it shows you can repeat all these different times. But what I want to do is I want to start it.
I think you need to scroll up, Luke.
Yeah, right here. So by month, and I want to start it on the first of the month. And we'll say we want to start at 9 a.m. Now I did month, and it's going to be on the first of every month at 9 a.m. And I want the beginning date to be January 1st. So we'll start running this every day for every month starting next year. Okay, so then I hit apply. And now we have our schedule done. The next destination option, delivery report via email. And here I'm going to put in SORA Circ, but you can also put in you could put in, if you wanted to, your own email address. So we have soracirc@buckles.org. And then here we need the pickup branch to be South Orange. And then finally, we need at least one hold for this to work. So we'll say number of holds one as a minimum. And I click create subscription. But now this report's going to run every month. Now, if I want to edit this subscription, I can click the three dots, go in here, and I can go in and manage and edit it here. But if I want to, instead of managing this one report, say I want to look at all my subscribed reports, so I click this gear icon at the top right, and I go to my subscriptions, and then you can see here, I have, I'll have a list of all my reports, and I can edit and go through them on this one page here under my subscriptions. All right, so now I'm going to pass it back to Will, and we're going to look at Simply Reports.
All right. Let's go here. All right. So now that we're back here, I'm gonna go back to Buckles Connect, so we can kind of go into how we can get into Simply Reports. Similar to what we've mentioned before in the beginning, if you go to the launcher, we'll have access to all of our reporting tools. And the next one we have here is Simply Reports VPN. So if I go ahead and click that, it'll bring us to this login page again. The URL for this one is simplyreports.buckles.org/simplyreports. These are all kind of mouthfuls, but here we can be able to log in with our same unique login, the same way that we did before with Buckles reports. So I'm going to just type in SORA Circ again and use that as our example today. And now that we're logged in, you're going to see this main page here. So just to give you a quick background of what Simply Reports is, it's a tool that was directly created by Innovative and works well with the ILS, and it's meant to be used for staff members to create quick and customized reports on information within the ILS that's currently in it. The difference with this and the previous reports that we showed before is that our Buckles SQL reports and the Polaris Innovative SQL reports are a little bit more powerful in the sense that they're using SQL actively in order to be able to query our ILS and retrieve data. And from that, they have a more historical data generation because of it. Whereas with Simply Reports, it's directly looking at what's currently in the ILS and what's currently in records. And so therefore, you're not going to be able to retrieve most historical data. So based on that, it's going to be really helpful and efficient to kind of look at what your purpose is before using each reporting tool. This is going to be used for more customizable and quick reports, which we'll go into in a little bit, but that's kind of the difference between these two reporting tools. And you're going to see as well how the fact that Innovative has created this reporting tool and how it interacts with the ILS, how that can be a lot more helpful compared to the other tools that we're showing today. So now that we've logged in, the first thing that we're going to do is kind of show you what all of these buttons at the top are. First up, we have patrons. What this essentially means are these are the type of reports that we can be able to do in Simply Reports. We're in the patrons one. And next up, we have these sub reports at the bottom of it. So there's three types of reports. There's list, count, and statistical reports. And we're going to go in to a few of them just to show you how these essentially work while you're using this tool. So we're logged in now, and the first thing that you want to put your attention to is this box right here that says report output columns. What these are they're a list of different parameters that we can use in order to construct our report. So you'll notice here we have patron telephone, patron street, legal first name and last name, and we're going to kind of go into how these can all work with that report. Now, let's say, for example, we want to do a report where we're going to be retrieving a bunch of patron barcodes. We can go ahead in here, click patron barcode, and what we can do here is click this right button to put into our next box, which is column selected for output. So any parameters that we have selected and are in this box is what the report is going to use in order to construct itself and generate the data that we need. So we put patron barcode in here, and so when we generate the report, it'll include patron barcodes. We'll kind of go into this in a little bit when we do an example of that, but that's how you would be able to put them into this box. The third box is column selected for sort. So I have patron barcode here. However, if I wanted to make a report that's organized and sorted by the barcode itself, I can actually have this be in the second box, then use this right arrow to put it into the third box so that when the report is generated, it'll organize all of our data by the patron barcode and sort them that way. So that's a really good way to have a more organized list of data once you generate that report. And it's going to be really helpful to do that if you want to make sure that everything is clear when you're generating that report and using it for later use. When it comes to getting rid of these, however, let's say, for example, you don't want to sort it by patron barcode anymore. You can just press this X button and it'll remove it from this box. The same thing goes with this one. If you don't want to use this column or this parameter within your report, all you need to do is press this arrow button to the left to bring it back to our list of parameters. You'll notice here as well that it's not in the same place anymore. Patron barcode is now going to be located at the bottom of our list of parameters. So keep that in mind if you want to use that again for constructing your reports. All right, next up, we have our filters. And as you can see here, it just says the name of the filter and then this plus button. If you press the plus button, it's actually a collapsible menu. So by pressing this plus button, it'll expand and give us a bunch of different filters and options here. And if you want to collapse it when you're done using it, you can just press this minus button to collapse that menu again. So just to start off with, we have first patron general filters. If you look here, we have an option for patron record set. So this is where Simply Reports has the ability to connect with the ILS a lot more thoroughly than the other reports. You can actually look for record sets that you have created within Leap, for example, and from there, be able to select it to be utilized in the report that you're trying to generate. Next up, we have patron branch. So this is where you can select the particular branch that the patron is assigned to in this case. For here, we have library quick pick, and you can use this to select any town within the consortium. And what this will do is that it'll select every single library that's part of that town. What's helpful with this is that if there's a library with multiple branches, you can actually select this and it'll automatically select every single branch within that town. So for example, with Maplewood, if I clicked it, you'll notice here that it includes their main 129 branch and then their Hilton branch as well. So that's going to be helpful to be able to get all of that information. However, if you want to get something more specific and you just want a specific branch, you can actually be able to select the particular branch by only clicking this branch, and it'll list every single branch within our consortium. So now in this case, I can select Hoboken's Grand Street Branch Library only instead of including their main branch as well. Next up, we have the patron code, which is going to be really helpful. You have your statistical class, you have language as well, and then you have these last two options, which we don't really use, so I wouldn't worry about that, but you do have a lot of these options here in just the general filters. So I'm going to collapse this, and next up we have patron date filters. This is going to be really helpful if you want to filter out and limit anything within these filters by using the date range. So in this case, for example, if we were to do last activity date for a patron record, and this is in a sense when the last time the patron has interacted with their record or their account, you can select this and then use these date widgets to be able to select a particular date range. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do year to date. I can actually go all the way back to January 1, 2023, and then select it to be today, December 6, 2023. So that way I can get a year-to-date report of all the patrons' last activity dates and whoever fits in that date range. So that's going to be really helpful to utilize as well. As you can see, there's expiration date, birth date, update date, and registration date as well. So you have a few options here. Next up, we have patron relative dates filters, and this works similarly to the last filter that we just explained before. The only difference with this one is that the way that you input the dates and like the filter that you want to limit by is slightly different. So we're going to use that last activity date example again. And if I select this here, what we can do is essentially say, I want to look for patron records that have a last activity date between a certain time, a measure of time. So let's say, for example, we want to look for the last activity date for patrons 6 months ago to today. We can select this drop-down menu that gives us our measure of time, select months, and then type in 6, And what that'll do is now it's going to look for and limit the data that we generate from our report to look for last activity dates 6 months ago up until today, which is December 6th. So that's a good option as well. If you don't want to go as in specific to create a date range, you can also utilize this as well to look for more general measures of time and have that data generated in your report. Next up, we have patron miscellaneous filters. This looks at a lot of the different parts of the patron record as well. So you can notice here we have telephone, we have any address, notification option, postal code range. There's a lot of different information here that we've kind of touched upon in previous sessions when we explained patron records and all of the different things that they can be configured with. So you can utilize these as well to get more specific and look for things like how many patrons, for example, have the notification option of mailing address. So that's a really good option there as well. Next up, we have patron block and note filters. If you have any non-blocking notes, any blocking notes or free text blocks on the patron record, or any sort of block at all, you can utilize these filters to look for specific patrons that have these blocks or have these notes. This can be helpful for any workflow purposes. If you notice that you type in a specific note for particular patrons, this can be helpful to be able to look them up and generate them in your report when you do that. Next up, we have patron user-defined fields and filters. This one usually isn't used as much, so I wouldn't even worry about that, but that is available. And then lastly, you have patron ID filters. This is slightly a little bit advanced. If you have the actual patron ID, you can be able to use this to look for particular records with that patron ID. And I just want to reiterate this. This is not the barcode. This is the actual patron ID number that's within the database. You do have access to look at this within the patron record, but again, it's a bit more advanced just for the fact that you have to get those particular IDs and essentially create a range in which you can find the patron records that you would like to see in the report. All right. So with that being said, now that we've explained our filters, I'm just going to go over a quick example of how you would be able to use this. So in the report that we're going to be generating, we're going to be looking for 5 patrons with the most checkouts, and we're going to create a report doing that. So in order to do that, there's a few things that I want to take from this, for my parameters for this report. So first off, I'm going to add our patron barcode so we can know the patron's barcode in terms of the top 5 most checkouts. Next up, we're going to put the patron's full name. You'll notice here they're all in alphabetical order, so I'm going to select patron full name so that we have that information. And then lastly, I'm going to do patron lifetime cert count. So a lot of these parameters, you're just going to have to go through the list and kind of take a look to see what will fit your specifications for the report. But now that we have all 3 of them, there's one thing I just want to do before we get started as well. Since we're trying to look for the top patrons that have a top cert count, we're going to take our patron lifetime cert count, click that, and then bring that into the column selected for sort so that they're all sorted with the cert count being the most important thing. Now that we have all of our parameters and sorting set up, I can go ahead and click the submit button. And what that does is it opens up a new tab in which it's going to generate our report. So this may take a little bit just because it's looking throughout the entire consortium. But once it finishes loading up our report, you'll notice here that we have a list of all of our data with the patron barcode, the patron's full name, and then the lifetime cert count. And as you can see, it's a lot of results. So this is still a pretty powerful tool. You see, we have 835,000 results here. With that being said, there's a few other options here as well that we can be able to utilize once we've generated our report. First off, we have the download report output. So this is similar to what we previously talked about in the SQL reports. If you want to download all the data here in an Excel sheet, you can click this checkbox and then press the download button. And what that'll do is it'll download it in your browser where you'll have access to it later. That way you can, again, edit your data, manage it however you would like, or organize it however you would like. Next up, we have our save report parameters for later use, which is a really cool tool as well. If we go ahead and click this, since we've already constructed our report using all of those parameters, what we can do is save those report parameters so that we can use it later on and not have to put those parameters in again whenever we need to generate this type of report. So in this case, I'm going to look at these two fields. We're going to name our report lifetime, top lifetime checkouts here. And then for our report description, we're going to say top lifetime checkouts within consortium. You can use this as an optional field so that you can give a description to your report so that when you look at it later, you'll know what this actually is supposed to be used for. Once you've filled everything in, you can go ahead and click the Save Report Parameters here, which is this little floppy disk button. Looks like this one already exists, so let me just say, oops. Let me just say checkouts to new. So we'll hit the Save Reports parameter, and once everything is all good, you'll notice here at the top it says your report top lifetime checkouts new has been saved at that point. So you can be able to use it for later. And that's the kind of power with unique login as well. Because of the fact that we each have our own account for logging into this, every staff member has the ability now to construct their own reports and save it to their own account for later use as well. The last thing that I just wanted to mention as well is the create patron record set from report results. This is another example of how Simply Reports works really well with the ILS. If I go ahead and click this checkbox, you can actually create a record set of all the data that we've generated here. So you can create a patron record set from these results. You can be able to name it similarly to the report that we just named, and also put in a record set note so that we have an understanding of why this record set was created. From there, once you have created this record set, you can go into Leap and be able to look at it and edit it however you would like. We'll go into in a little bit later how that's even more helpful for other type of records. But for now, when it comes to patron record sets, you can be able to create this here as well. All right. So now that we're all done with these top parts, I'm just going to go ahead and click the close window button. If that doesn't work as well, you can just close the tab out here and you'll be greeted back to our original report screen. Next up, we have patron count reports. So if I go ahead and click this, it's going to work similarly to what we just explained before with our report output columns and the filters. However, I'm just going to go straight into an example to show you how this is slightly different. So the example that we're going to be showing today is how many patrons of each patron code are here within a particular library. So if we're looking for the patron code, we're going to select the patron code as our option for our parameters, put it into this column selected for output here. And then once we have our sole column that we're going to be constructing for the report, we're going to go into patron general filters, and we're going to look for a particular library. In this case, we're going to select South Orange. So I'm going to click Library Quick Pick. And then from here, I can use this menu to scroll down to South Orange and select it. And you'll notice here that it also selects your South Orange Public Library branch. Once everything is set up now, we can go ahead and click Submit. And what this will do is it now generates a report of all the patrons within your library based on its patron code. So we can see here, adult patron codes is the most number of patrons here was 6,609. And then juvenile and young adult and so on and so forth will all be listed here. So that's a really great way to be able to utilize that. So I'm going to just go ahead and close this out again. And then lastly, we have patron statistical reports. Throughout this training, we're not going to be going over it, but we just wanted to highlight that this is an option. It's a little advanced, so maybe in the future we may offer this in future trainings, but for now, patron statistical report won't be shown in this training session. With that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Luke now. I'm just going to log out here real quick, and he'll go over the next type of report in Simply Reports.
All right, so I'm going to go back to Buckles Connect and go into Simply Reports now. Okay, so we'll just went through all the first category here, patrons, and these subcategories. I'm going to go over patron account and the same subcategories for patron account reports. So the first type we have is patron account and then patron account list reports. Again, we have these three boxes at the top. The first is a list of columns for report output. And because this deals with the patron account, a lot of these are going to be transactions and the item associated with the transaction, to mark information and patron information. So I can take anything from here and move it over to this middle box with these arrows and have this be an output. Let's say I wanted the patron barcode and I wanted mark title, and then these are both for output. And then I can have the third column is column selected for sort. So if I want to sort it by the title, I'll move it over one more and I have this. One thing to point out is you have the column selected for output here. These up and down arrows and the same up and down arrows over here in the third box let you adjust the order of things. So if I wanted mark title to be the first column, I just move it up here, and then I can move it down if I want it to be the second column. So once you get all your columns selected for output in the center box or a column selected for sort in the third box, use these up and down arrows to move things around. All right, so now I just want to close out of this. So I'm going to hit the X here to delete the column selected for sort, and I'm going to move these output columns back over to the first box here. The first thing here is, again, since this has to do with patron account, we have transaction type, and you have the different financial transaction types available. You can have charges, credits, deposits, and then you can have a summary. You need to select at least one. Under patron account general filters, this will expand, and it's showing where we can look at the payment method, if it was cash, check, the reason for the fee or the charge, the transacting branch here, and some more information. Patron account miscellaneous filters here. This is where we can kind of narrow down to get at the information we're looking for. So say we wanted, we're looking for something that was over $25. We can say transaction amount is greater than 25, and that will help narrow things down. You can also do the same for charges and credits. You can say charge amounts greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, and the same for credit. Next, we have transaction date filters, and this is just straightforward, narrowing down where the transaction date occurred, or looking at a period of time, X number of days, months, or years ago, and the date we're running this report. Next up, we have item filters. This is where now we can narrow down the item relating to this charge and do it by assigned branch, what collection is part of the material type or the search status. Patron filters is, again, we can narrow it down by the patrons branch and patron code. Patron date, this is going to look at when the patron registered or the last activity date or expiration date. Patron relative date filters are going to look at a period of time, and you can say like registration date between 20 days ago and the report run date, or you can look at, you can say 3 months ago and change it here, or you can look at years in the report run date, and then the same for all this below. Patron miscellaneous filters are just going to show you a little bit more information to narrow things down. Patron user defined fields, like before, we don't use these, so don't worry about this part. And then patron ID filters here. All right, going back up to the top, this next subcategory, patron account count reports. All this does is include some optional information here at the top. Everything else is the same. You can have options below, maybe use the sum balance column from above, outstanding charges, outstanding credits, outstanding deposits, and then you can look at historical information. And then patron accounts statistical. Will had mentioned this. We don't use this. It's kind of more advanced. You can use it. We might go into it in another training, but for right now, we're not going to go into it. All right. So next up, we're going to go into holds. So again, under the main category of holds, we have the three subcategories: hold list reports, hold count reports, and hold statistical reports. So in the hold list reports, again, we have these three boxes at the top. In the report output column in the first box are going to be related to holds. At the first items you can pick is anything to do with holds, and then the item information, the mark information, and patron information. Again, you can move any of this over. So I can say item material type I want to have over here, and item barcode, and say I wanted the item or the patron last name, and I wanted to sort by patron last name. I'd move this over to the third box and say I wanted to move the column so it has the patron last name first. I just move this up, and I can change the order, move this down if I want barcode second and material type third. But to close out of this, I'm just going to hit this X, delete it from the third box, and select these and move these back over. And then we're going to go down through the filters. So we have holds general filters, basically the pickup branch for where the hold is going to be picked up. Hold status, and then we have some more information here. Hold date filters are going to look at the hold activation date, creation date, expiration date, and some more dates involved with holds here. Relative date filters for holds are going to look at a period of time that is X number of days, months, or years in the report run date. And then it's going to look at, you can look at before or in between. Next up, we have holds note filters. And this is if you type in the same text again and again and like in your notes area, you can filter out by typing in that same text field, and it will come up if that text field is in a record. Bibliographic record filters, we can look up bib information here. Item filters, this is only for items specific and fulfilled requests, so it's important to remember that. Patron general filters, you can pick the patron branch and then look up by patron code or statistical class. Patron date filters, this is going to look at activity related to their activity date or their expiration date. And patron relative date filters are going to look at activity that is between the report run date and X number of days, months, or years. There's some miscellaneous filters here. Patron user-defined fields, we don't use these, just like before. And then the patron ID filters. Next up for holds, we have holds count reports. And like before, it's just going to show these additional options here, where you could look at the top number of requests, and you can say greater than, less than, or equal to. You could say like 100. Number of holdable items, same thing in the assigned branch. And everything else is the same. And then finally, we have the hold statistical reports, the third subcategory, and we don't use that. in this training. You can use it in the future. We can learn about it in future trainings. All right, so now I'm going to go pass it back to Will and log out, and he's going to go into the item reports.
All right. So let me just get back into here. And let's see if we can. There we go. So I'm going to sign in again. And we can go over our next type of report. Oops. Which is going to be items. And this is a report that's specifically looking towards item records, which is going to be a really helpful type of report for everybody to use within the libraries. Similar to the ones that we discussed before, you're going to use the report output columns in order to be able to look at them. You'll notice as I scroll down through here, our parameters are items, and they're slightly different from the other ones. And the more we scroll down, you'll also see some mark options as well as patron options. So there's a slightly different parameters here that you can be able to utilize at that point. Like we've touched upon before, if there's a particular parameter you want to put in, let's say item barcode, you can click that and select it for output, and then you can also sort it as well. If you don't want those anymore, you can use the X button here, and then you can also use this arrow to bring it back. It'll always go back to the bottom, so just keep that in mind when selecting parameters if you need to use that particular parameter again. With that being said, let's go over our filters again. So similar to the other types of reports, you have an option to look for item record sets this time, which is going to be really helpful. And I'll kind of touch upon that in a little bit. You have the items assigned branch where you can quickly choose a quick pick library based on its town. You can also choose particular branches as well. Next up, you have the collection, you have the creator/modifier, the donor, find code, the home branch, the history action, loan period code, material type, owner, record status, shelf location, shelving scheme, the stat code, the circ status, and then these last two ones, which we don't usually use. So as you can see, a lot more descriptive compared to other reports in order to kind of narrow down and limit the types of data that you want generated from your report. Next up, we have item date filters, which is again similar to the other reports, only this time it's based on aspects of an item record. So you have things like the due date, the creation date, the last search status change date, last activity date, and so on and so forth. Here you can be able to, again, create date ranges by using these widgets in order to select a particular date. And then from there, you can be able to, again, limit the generated data that you come based on a date filter. You'll notice here, however, that we have another type of relative date, which is item relative date filters between two dates. This is going to be similar to, again, the other date filters that we have, where you can be able to select creation date. However, this time it's going to look for dates between an X amount of days, months, or years, and the report run date. So that's going to be really helpful to utilize as well if you're looking for, again, a date range in which you're going to be looking for particular aspects or particular items based on the parameters that you set in these filters. And then if we go to the last type of date, this is going to look for relative date filters prior to a specified date. So this is similar to what we've seen before as well, where if you want to do a due date more than, let's say, for example, 6 months before the actual date that you run it, you can be able to do that as well, where if I were to put 6 months, it would do 6 months before December 6th, which is today. So you have a lot of different options and customizability when it comes to these date filters based on the item record. Next up, we have item call number filters, and this allows you to go into the actual call number and all the aspects of the call number, like prefix, classification number, the cutter, the suffix, our volume number, and our copy number, and put them into these fields so that you can be able to, again, make ranges based on the call number in order to find particular data for item records. So that's going to be really helpful as well. We have item block, note, and funding filters. Again, similar to something like the patron or the holds type of reports, you can, if there's any particular notes that are on a particular record and there's a specific workflow that you're utilizing where there's a similar type of note on particular records, you can utilize this as well in order to be able to select those records that have those notes and those blocks. Next up, we have item circulation filters. This goes more, as it's saying, into more circulation aspects of the item record. So you have lifetime circulation, lifetime in-house use, renewal limit, year-to-date circulation, year-to-date in-house use, and then days past first available. So you can use that as well. Item check-in and in-transit filters deals with more of the check-in and circulation aspect of these records. So you have check-in branch and check-in user. You have the workstation that the item was checked in at, in-transit sending branch and in-transit receiving branch as well. So you have those options. Item checkbox filters is definitely an interesting and important part of these filters as well. You'll notice here that there's a bunch of different checkboxes with specific things that refer to the item record. And depending on which checkbox you select, it'll be able to bring up that particular generated data within your report. So you'll notice here, if an item record is displayed in the pack and it's checked off in the record, you can select that as your option. However, if it's also unchecked, or if it's something that isn't going to be displayed in the pack, you can select that as well. So there's a bunch of different options here. Just to keep in mind as well, as you're selecting each type of checkbox filter, just remember that if I were to say select pickup at this branch checked, and then select another option, it's not going to, it's going to generate the data considering the fact that it's looking for items that have pickup at this branch checked and, let's say, for example, display and pack checked. So keep that in mind. It's not an or thing, it's more of an and thing when it comes to these filters. Next up, we have our item record ID filters. So similar to what we've seen before, where we can use the ID number of a particular record and create a range from that. We have bibliographic record filters. We can use bibliographic configurations and aspect of that record in order to be able to create and filter out different things with the item record. You have your patron general filters, where you can use the patron's branch, the code, or the statistical class for item records. You have patron date filters, again, using dates from the patron. You have patron miscellaneous filters, so like postal code range, lost items, again, things that refer to both the item and the patron. And then you have patron ID filters, which again utilizes only the ID. In past types of reports that we've explained, you'll notice there is a barcode option, but this again is only looking for the actual patron ID within the database. All right. With that being said, I'm going to give you a quick example of how even simple reports can be utilized for making sure that you're following the P&P manual as well. So this is an example of resource sharing compliance, and I'm going to give you kind of a quick showing of how this would work. First up, we're going to select our item barcode. So I'm going to select this as the column that's selected for output. Next up, we're going to go into our item general filters, and we're going to use our example of Allendale for the library quick pick in order to be able to do that. Next up, we're going to do item relative date filters. So I'm just going to close this and then do item relative date filters prior to a specified date. And what we're going to do is look for the first available date more than 3 months before the report. So if I click first available date, we're going to change this drop down to months and then set it to 3 months. And then lastly, we're going to go into our item checkbox filter. So this is a slightly different thing when it comes to this report in particular. You're going to actually be doing using the item checkbox filters to create 4 separate reports. So the 4 types of filters that we can apply here are, first off, we can select for items that have holdable unchecked, and then from there we would be able to submit the report. Next up, we have pickup at this branch checked. Then we would submit that report. Third, we would have patrons from this branch only checked. So we would uncheck this and then select that, submit the report. And lastly, we have patrons from this library and branches checked and then submit that report. In this case, I'm going to actually show it and submit it so we can generate the report. But by submitting it, you'll notice that it'll only give us item barcodes with those specifications that we have set on the filters. So that's going to be really helpful for us in order to be able to know all the particular items that are with those filters. From here, this is where we were talking about record sets. This can actually be really helpful, as with item records, you would want, and in terms of this particular report in and of itself, you're going to be making changes to particular items. So here you can actually create the record set, name it, put a date on it, and then from there you can, once you save the record set, you can then hop into Leap and then be able to do item bulk changes in order to change any particular items. So that's going to be really helpful in order to, again, follow that resource sharing compliance for our policies. So even Simply reports can be helpful, which is making sure that you're having a more efficient workflow and, again, following policy within the consortium. So now that we're done, I'm going to X out of this tab. And from here, we're going to go into item count reports. So in item count reports, again, it's very similar. I just wanted to touch upon this really quickly. You'll notice there's similar output columns. Only difference here is you'll notice that there's actually a sum version of output columns for count reports. So keep that in mind if you would like to use that as well. That's going to be applicable. And then you have your other normal filters that we've seen before as well. This is going to be helpful for, again, specifically generating reports that have to do with count. And then lastly, again, our item statistical reports, which we won't be showing in this training, but we will show it in future trainings in the future since it's an advanced reporting tool. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back off to Luke, and he's going to do our BIBs type of report.
All right. So I'm going to go back into Simply reports. All right, so we've gone through patrons, patron account, holds, and items. So the last one we're going to go over today is BIBs. So I'm going to click the BIBs header here, and we have these subcategories here. So the first one is BIB list reports. So just like the others in the first box, there's a list of columns for output. And since it's BIBs list, it has to do with BIB information, mark information. And at the bottom, we have vendor information, but we don't use purchasing players for purchasing, so don't worry about anything that has to do with that. So again, I can take anything I want over here. I can say the BIB creator name. I can say BIB lifetime sort count. Move one over to the third column for sorting, and so forth. But I'm just going to close out of this and move these back over and go through the filters. So the first we have bibliographic record general filters. And there's a lot of information in here. You can see I can, get a bib record set, record owner, creator, and so on, all the way down. There's a lot of information. Bib date filters. So we can look at the mark publication year, creation date, first available date, modification date. Bib relative date filters. This is going to show, I can say creation date is X number of, you can just put in 5 days, months, or years. And bib miscellaneous filters. Bib aggregate filters, you're going to say you can have lifetime sort count, and you can narrow it down to say equal to, less than, or greater than, and then for all these other options here. you can look at equal to, less than, or greater than. And then finally, we have bib ID filters at the bottom, but you'll need another bib ID to use this. All right, I'm going to show you a quick example. So say we want the most popular titles this year. The first one we want to get is the author. We want to see who wrote the most popular books. So bring that over. And then we need the title. So we'll take mark title. This is all alphabetical. And the bib year-to-date cert count. And again, remember you can move these around to have the columns in any order you want. But I want to sort by the most popular. So I need this one to be over in the third box. So we're sorting the columns by the year-to-date cert count. All right, so I have everything I want here. And it's going to open in a new tab and load up. All right. You can see this is the order of the columns I had, and it's sorting by bib year-to-date cert count. You can see, we have Colleen Hoover. She's a popular author in this book here. It starts with us. I'm sure Lessons in Chemistry is probably here, all the other popular books. So now that I have this report, again, this is the preview. It's showing the first 100 rows, so I can download it to Excel if I want to go into it in more detail, save it for later use, and so forth. But I'm just going to close out of it here and come back to this page. Next up, we have bib count reports. And this is all the same, but it includes this optional select number of aggregate bibs. And bib statistical report we don't use, so we're not going to use this in this training, so we're going to skip over that, and it might be covered in the future, like we talked about. All right, so now I want to go over once you have, given the unique login, everyone can have their own saved reports in their own report area. So that's the part we're going to cover now, and that's under here, My Reports. So any saved reports I have, when I click on My Reports, will have a category here, and then anything is going to be under these report type categories. So you can see I don't have any reports that have to do with these report types. But I do have one if I click down to patron list reports. And these are the ones, you can see this is the one Will made today. And it says new because yesterday when we were doing preparation for the training today, we made the same report. Now you can see we have both the reports here. So it will have the report name, the description, creation date, last run date, the creator, and the type, and then we have you can delete it or edit it, schedule and run it. So I'm just going to go through that right now. So say we want to have this report here, and we want to run it. Just click it and go to run. And now you can see we don't have to do all that setup work where we are selecting all the columns and choosing how we want to filter it. Now that it's saved, all we have to do is go into My Reports, select it, and click run. So it's a really quick process. All right, so now it's right here, and you can see you can download the output clicking this link. Another thing we can do under My Reports, let's go back to patron list reports, is we can schedule. Say I want to schedule this one, click schedule, and I can create a schedule And I say I want to start it January 1st. I'm not going to have an expiration because I want to see, I want to have it continue to run. We have one question here. Let's see. Or do you mind reading the question?
Let's wait on this question because it has to do with a prior section. So let's finish out what you're doing now and we'll go back to the question.
Okay, sure. We're going to leave the expiration date blank, so it will never expire. And say I want to run it weekly on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. And now it is going to be saved. And you can see now it's, I have my scheduled daily reports, which is blank, so I don't have any. But then I have scheduled weekly reports right here with all the information. I have my monthly schedule and my one-time schedule. I can also go to file maintenance and select a report type. So there's ad hoc reports. And this is all the kind of like the historical ones that are in here, my saved reports and my scheduled reports. So that's kind of how you go in and manage all your reports. I'm going to quickly show you, like, say you want to delete one. I go into here and say I wanted to edit it first. It will say, do you want to edit? Click OK. And this is going to give me back here if I want to make any changes. But I can also go in and delete it. I'll show you that real quick and say I want to delete these and delete. So how that works. For some of the recommended reports that we have, I'll just quickly talk about. We have the Dusty Book Report, and that helps you weed your collection. We have the Dusty Patron Report, which helps you clear out expired or inactive patrons with minimal fines. We have Missing the more than 6 months report, and that satisfies the missing items policy. We have the Claims Return / Never Had report, more than 6 months, and that satisfies the use of the Claims Return Never Had policy. And it just note on that, it could be run similar to the missing report and just change the search status. So you can just change the search status and you don't have to change anything else. We also have non-holdable for more than 3 months report that satisfies the resource sharing policy. And you can change that 6 months to 3 months in instructions. So again, you can keep everything else the same. All right, so now Will's going to quickly show you the third category of reports, which is the Buckle statistics reports.
And just a quick note about the recommended reports Luke just listed, and all the other recommended ones we've been talking about. I did share that with Darlene, so when you get your follow-up email from Darlene with the evaluation and the handouts, you're going to have a handout with all the recommended reports listed, and there are going to be links to either the report instructions or how to access the report. There's going to be links on the PDF, so you can click it right from there and you'll go to the instructions and you can see how to run these reports.
All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So the last thing we're going to be talking about today is the statistics. This is just a page that's going to be available to you on Buckles Connect. And there's 2 ways that you can be able to access it. Again, we have our launcher here, and the launcher will be able to give us all of our options. Here you'll notice that there's an option for statistics, which will direct you straight to the statistics page. And then lastly, we have the option of going to the pages option, and then statistics will also be available for you as well. As you can see, it gives you a description saying that this is reports that are provided by the Buckles office. So if I go ahead and click that, we'll be greeted to the statistics page on Buckles Connect. And these are essentially a bunch of reports that we generate on a consistent basis, usually monthly, annually, and quarterly. So it's always great to just take a look back at this page and see if there's any updates on the particular reports that we use or that we generate for you guys. Everybody in the consortium has access to these reports for any sort of purposes, so just feel free to come back and take a look at them. I'm going to show you a few examples in terms of how everything would work. First off, we're going to do circulation cumulative monthly. Now, this is a monthly report, and you'll notice here that by clicking it, it brings us to the page. Buckles Connect is hosted and ran essentially by Google Drive. So you'll notice that all these folders are similar to Google Drive. We have a bunch of reports all the way back from 2001. And Joseph is the person who kind of constructs and runs everything here. So he's definitely going to be making sure that the reports are getting updated as quickly as possible. Right now, for this report, we have up to November 2023 since we're in December. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you'll notice that it's a Google Sheet. From here, you'll be greeted by the report where you can be able to look at a bunch of different things. This report in specific is referencing the circulation based on collection. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. If we scroll down, we can even see that South Orange is starting to show up in terms of their data. Right now it's showing 0 because this report is kind of comparing 2023 to 2022 in terms of its circulation. So always just take a look back at this. This will be constantly updated. And in terms of this being a monthly one, this usually is updated within the first week of the month. So definitely take a look back at it when you need to or when you can. I'm going to close out of this, but again, you can go to any sort of month, any month throughout this year, and all of that data will be there for you to take a look at. Next up, I'm going to show you the eBuckle circulation. This is a really good one as well. So this is also updated monthly, but you'll notice this is slightly different in the fact that, again, it's only showing it in years and it's not in a folder. But you can see that the data is definitely great here. It goes all the way back to 2006. I'm going to go ahead and click the 2023 one. And this, again, gives you another similar report that kind of categorizes all of the e-content that's been circulated throughout the consortium based on the e-audio books, e-books, and e-magazines. So by month, you can look here and see that they're all kind of generated in that way. So every single library is here. When it comes to South Orange, we're going to start including the circulation for e-content next month. So please take a look back at that whenever we have our data for December. So you can go ahead and scroll to the right, and you will be able to see more information regarding the buckle circulation. So that's going to be really helpful as well for you to look at. So let me exit out of here. And then lastly, we have the report reciprocal borrowing and lending monthly. We also have a yearly option, but I'm going to show monthly. And it works similarly to the first report that we just showed before, where everything is in folders. If I go ahead and click 2023, you'll notice that there's, again, Google Sheet files here that we can select per month. And I'm going to select November. And it's going to give us a breakdown of a bunch of different information here when it comes to specific things. So as we see, we have a bunch of the libraries here. We also have South Orange appearing here. And what we look at here is all of the items that have been loaned, all of the items that have been loaned year to date, borrowed, and then borrowed year to date. So this can be a helpful report that you can be able to utilize for your board to show, for example, that, hey, we noticed that we actually loan out more items than any other library. So it's good that we're doing that in terms of the consortium. You can even see that maybe other libraries are loaning out more and we're able to borrow more. So this can help with kind of giving kind of examples just to how beneficial being in the Buckles Consortium can be. As you can see, like Livingston, for example, they have a lot of borrowing and loaning. So that's a great example of showing that. So you have all this information available to you. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And it just takes looking at all of these reports and seeing what they can be able to do for you. We also have descriptions for each report to give you a better understanding on what they can be utilized for and what they essentially do. Again, we try to update them as consistently as possible. We at the Buckles office make sure that the data is consistent, and we try to make sure that it's updated. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer based on a holiday or just based on the generation of reports not being done as quickly. So again, if you notice that a month is missing, I would check back and just make sure that everything is correct there. There are a few reports, however, that aren't updated regularly. So if you notice that a report is only showing really old data, I wouldn't worry about that. We're constantly trying to get those figured out as well. But for the other reports that you can see are consistently getting updated, just remember to take a look back if you need that data. All right. With that being said, I'm going to stop my recording, and that is the end of our training session for reporting. I think we can go back to that question now, I believe, right, Margaret?
Yeah, let's take a look. Can we get most popular titles in the items report? What's the difference? The difference would be if you list the most popular items, it's not going to be the most popular title, it's going to be the most popular copy. So it's like one item specifically that has the most checkouts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that title in its entirety with all copies accounted for is the most popular title. It just means that that one copy went out the most out of every other copy. So it's probably going to be the most battered and beat up copy out there because it had the most circulation. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that title was the most popular. So I can't guarantee that just because Lessons in Chemistry was the most popular title in the list in our bib record report, I can't guarantee that that means that if we ran an item report for the most popular item, that that would also be Lessons in Chemistry, because it's counting up the total circs from every item for Lessons in Chemistry. Whereas if you look at one, and we can run the report if you want to, Luke, I think you're still logged in. We can run it just out of curiosity to see what the most popular copy in the system is, but it won't be the same information. Okay, thanks. No need to run example. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? Let's give it a couple minutes to see if there's any other questions in the chat. Obviously, this is a lot to digest, so you might find that you have questions as you look through it, and that's fine. Just send us a ticket. There's a reporting ticket type in the support form, so you can actually click reports and send us specifically a ticket about reports, and we'll certainly get back to you. I would say two things. Definitely look at the handouts when we send you the handouts. But I would say two things. Familiarize yourself with item records, bib records, and patron records, and hold requests in LEAP so that you know what types of things you can run reports on. Because basically, if it's in a record, you can run a report on it in Simply Reports. So familiarize yourself with the structure of the records and what's in them. And then familiarize yourself with all the different filters and column options in Simply Reports, so that you know what your options are and you can play around and try to construct different reports, and then just ask questions as you have them. No other questions from the group? Okay, great. Did we have any other virtual attendees on the list? I don't think we did. No, just the group. Okay, so Lindita, if you can send me the attendance at the end, that would be great.
Excellent. So just to wrap up, thanks again to Will and Luke for another great class with lots of good information. Thanks, Margaret, for your role as project manager. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And as Margaret said, we'll be sending out a post-event email. It'll have an evaluation form. Please give us your feedback about today's training, as well as topics of future interest. The evaluations are very important. They are shared in our monthly executive board packet, and people do look at the feedback. We will also be sending you the link to the recording, as well as the updated handout outline for today, and the links to running reports that Margaret mentioned as well. So I think we're I think we're good. So thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.